readers! Today, Meepers and I are going to be talking about our top 10 most anticipated book releases for next month, August 2021. Are you excited for the August books, Meepers? Or are you just excited to get this treat? Yeah, that sounds about right. As always, these are not all the books being released in August, of course. These are just the ones that I'm most interested in. And funny enough, when I first started looking into what books were coming out next month, at first I was like, oh, I actually can't find any that I'm really that interested in. But by the time I was done, I had like 50. So it was really hard to narrow it down. Before I jump in, one really quick announcement. I do want to share that I am going to be making a special announcement later this week on my channel to celebrate my 100 subscriber achievement. Woohoo! So if you're not already, make sure you're subscribed so that you don't miss out on that. All right, I'm going to jump in with number one. Again, these are just listed by release date, and that's going to be Billy Summers by Stephen King. If you don't know, I'm a huge Stephen King fan. He already came out with one book this year, so I can't believe he's coming out with another. He really needs to stop, or else I'm never going to be able to catch up on all his books. So, according to Amazon, this is what they have to say about Billy Summers. Billy Summers is a man in a room with a gun. He's a killer for hire and the best in the business, but he'll do the job only if the target is a truly bad guy. And now Billy wants out. But first, there's one last hit. Billy is among the best snipers in the world, a decorated Iraq war vet, a Houdini when it comes to vanishing after the job is done. So what could possibly go wrong? How about everything? This spectacular can't put it down novel is a part war story, part love letter to a small town America and the people who live there, and it features one of the most compelling and surprising duos in King fiction, who set out to avenge the crimes of an extraordinary evil man. It's about love, luck, fate, and a complex hero with one last shot at redemption. Get it? Shot? I like that. I like it when they include little puns. Oh, wait, there's more. You won't put this story down, and you won't forget Billy. So this sounds really exciting. It sounds like a little bit of a new-ish type story for King, and that makes me exciting. You know, not his typical mystery, supernatural thrillers, although who knows, there could be something supernatural in there. It sounds like it's going to be a great book. I'm going to be excited to read it eventually. If you're excited to read it, Billy Summers will be available on April 3rd. Billy Summers will be available on August 3rd. I don't know why I just said April. It's the heat. It's getting to my head. Number 2, we have Her Heart for a Compass, a novel by Sarah Ferguson. Now, this sounds like a historical fiction, which is another thing that I'm super into. Because of my love of Philippa Gregory, this sounded like something that would interest me. So, according to Amazon, here is the setup of this book. Queen Victoria's close friend, the Scottish Duke of Burlock, Lady Margaret Montague Scott, is expected to make an advantageous marriage, but Margaret is an impulsive and outspoken girl in a repressive society where women are quite literally caged in corsets and required to conform. When Lady Margaret's parents arrange a society marriage for her, she tries to reconcile herself to the match. But shortly before her betrothal is announced, Margaret flees, leaving her parents to explain her sudden absence to an opulent ballroom stuffed with 200 distinguished guests. Banished from polite society, Margaret throws herself into charitable works and finds strength in a circle of female friends just like herself. Women intent on breaking the mold, including Queen Victoria's daughter, Princess Louise, Margaret resolves to follow her heart, a journey of self-discovery that will take her to Ireland, America, and then back to Britain, where she finds the life that she was always meant to lead. A bold and thoughtful story about a rebellious woman finding herself and her voice in an age of astounding technological change and great social unrest. Her Heart for a Compass is a delicious costume drama, rich in atmosphere, history, and color. Wow, that was a mouthful, but I love historical fiction that's set in, like, either Tudor era England or Victoria era England. I really, really love those types of stories. So this sounds like something that's right up my alley. If it sounds like something that's up your alley, Her Heart for a Compass will be available on August 3rd. Next up, we have another historical fiction called The Bookseller's Secret, a novel of Nancy Mitford and World War II. This one is described as, in 1942 London, Nancy Mitford is worried about more than air raids and German spies. Still recovering from a devastating loss, the once sparkling, bright young thing is estranged from her husband, her allowance has been cut, and she's given up her writing career. On top of this, her 5 beautiful but infamous sisters continue making headlines with their controversial politics. Eager for distraction and desperate for income, Nancy jumps at the chance to manage the Haywood Hill bookshop while the owner is away at war. Between the shop's brisk business in the literary salons she hosts for her eccentric friends, Nancy's life seems on the upswing. But when a mysterious French officer insists that she has a story to tell, Nancy must decide if picking up the pen again and retelling and revealing all is worth the price she might be forced to pay. 8 years later, Haywood Hill is abuzz with the hunt for a lost wartime manuscript written by Nancy Mitford. For one woman desperately in need of change, the search will reveal not only a new side to Nancy, but an even more surprising link between the past and present. So this sounds like a super fun read. From the little research I found, it seems like it's based on a real-life person, Nancy Mitford, who I'm not familiar with, but some of you may be. If you are, please let me know in the comments section down below. So this sounds like it could be a super exciting read. I'm all about stories about bookstores and all that type of stuff. How could I not be? So if you are all about that stuff as well, then The Bookseller's Secret, a novel of Nancy Mitford in World War II, will be available on August 17th. Number 4 is going to be Velvet Was the Night by Silvia Moreno Garcia. I hope I'm saying that right. If you recognize that name, which you might, she is the author of the super popular Mexican Gothic book that came out, I believe it either came out in early 2020 or it might have come out in 2019. I'm not quite sure, but I know it was a super popular book. I know a ton of people read it and loved it. And even the people who didn't like it still had good things to say about it. So this is her next book. So this one takes place in 1970s Mexico City. We have Mate, who is a secretary who lives for one thing, the latest issue of Secret Romance. While student protests and political unrest consume the city, Mate escapes into stories of passion and danger. Her next-door neighbor, Lenora, a beautiful art student, seems to live a life of intrigue and romance that Mate envies. When Lorena disappears under suspicious circumstances, Mate finds herself searching for the missing woman and journeying deeper into Lenora's secret life of student radicals and descendants. Meanwhile, someone else is also looking for Lenora at the behest of his boss, a shadowy figure who commands goon squads dedicating to squashing political activists. Elvis is an eccentric criminal who longs to escape his own life. He loathes violence and loves old movies and rock and roll. But as Elvis searches for the missing woman, he watches Mate from a distance and comes to regard her as a kindred spirit who shares his love of music and the unspoken loneliness of his heart. Now, as Mate and Elvis come closer to discovering the truth behind Lenora's disappearance, they can no longer escape the danger that threatens to consume their lives, with hitmen, government agents, and Russian spies all aiming to protect Lenora's secrets at gunpoint. Velvet Was the Night is an edgy, simmering historical novel for lovers of smoky noirs and anti-heroes. Again, doesn't that sound like a fun read? And I love that it's set in a time and place that, I haven't read a ton of stuff set in 1970s Mexico, so I think that's a really cool setting for a super cool novel. If you are interested in Velvet Was the Night, it will be available on August 17th. Next up, we have Redemptor by Jared, and I know I'm going to pronounce this wrong, Ifuko. If you recognize the cover of this book at all, it's because Redemptor is the sequel to his first super popular book, Raybearer. Raybearer was a very popular book, and this is going to be the sequel. So if you're not familiar with it, this is the blurb, no spoilers here, but for the first time, an Empress Redemptor sits on the throne. To appease the sinister spirits of the dead, Tersai must now anoint a council of her own, coming to her full power as a Raybearer. She must then descend into the underworld, a sacrifice to end all future atrocities. Tersai is determined to survive, or at least that's what she tells her increasingly distant circle of friends. Months into her shaky reign as Empress, child spirits haunt her, demanding that she pay for the past sins of the Empire. With the lives of her loved ones on the line, assassination attempts from unknown quarters, and a handsome new stranger she can't quite trust, Tersai fears the pressure may consume her. But in this finale to the Raybearer duology, Tersai must learn whether to die for justice or to live for it. I have not read Raybearer yet, but it is on my TBR. It has been ever since it came out because the cover looks amazing, but also it sounds like a really cool story. So I'm definitely interested in Redemptor, and if you are interested in Redemptor, the hardcover will be available on August 17th. Number 6 is going to be Asphalt Legacy by Pittacus Lore. I had never heard that name before, but I'm like, that is a crazy name. That can't really be their name, but apparently it is. So Pittacus Lore finished telling the story of Lorraine 9 in the New York Times bestselling I Am Number 4 and Lorraine Reborn series. Now he's back to recount an all-new adventure rooted in the real mysteries of the surrounding Roswell, New Mexico, that will enthrall fans of Brandon Sanderson, Jay Kristoff, and Arnie Kaufman. So if any of those authors sound like authors that you typically read, this might be a book for you. The blurb of this book says, "We have waited generations for you. Sid Chambers knows that there is life on other planets because he's descended from it. His father was from a distant world called Denza and has been missing, presumed dead, for years. When Sid discovers a device his father left behind, which shows not only that he's alive, but where he is, Sid must set out on a mission of his own. But along the way, he discovers a deadly, unbearable secret that could destroy Denza, Earth, and the universe." I'm always looking for new sci-fi tales, so this sounds like a great new sci-fi tale. Even though I've never read I Am Number 4, I'm definitely familiar with it, and I know that people do enjoy those books, so that's what makes me interested in Asphalt Legacy. If you're interested in Asphalt Legacy, it will be available on August 17th. Number 7 is going to be The Women of Troy, and from what I understand, this is another mythological retelling of the Iliad. So Troy has fallen, and the victorious Greeks are eager to return home with the spoils of an endless war, including the women of Troy themselves. They await a fair wind for the Aegean. It does not come because the gods are offended. The body of King Priam lies unburied and desecrated, and so the victors remain in suspension, camped in the shadows of the city they destroyed, as the coalition that held them together begins to unravel. Old feuds resurface, and the new suspicions and rivalries begin to fester. Largely unnoticed by her captors, the one-time Trojan queen, formerly Achilles' slave, now belongs to his companion, Alcimus, quietly takes in these developments. She forges alliances when she can with Priam's aged wife, the defiant Hecuba, and with the disgraced soothsayer Cassius, all the while shrewdly seeking her path to revenge. Ooh, that was a little difficult to get out. Anyway, this does sound like a super awesome book. I haven't read a ton of the mythology retellings, but I am in the middle of A Song of Achilles. I'm really enjoying it so far, so I feel like mythology retellings is going to be a new favorite of mine. That's why I'm interested in The Women of Troy. If you're interested in The Women of Troy, it will be available on August 24th. Number 8 is going to be A Slow Burning Fire by Paula Hawkins, another super popular author. You may recognize her name because she wrote the super popular Girl on a Train novel. So this newest one is supposed to be another thriller. So when a young man is found gruesomely murdered at a London houseboat, it triggers questions about 3 women who knew him. Laura is the troubled one-night stand last seen in the victim's home. Carla is his grief-stricken aunt, already mourning the recent death of yet another family member. And Miriam is the nosy neighbor, clearly keeping secrets from the police. 3 women with separate connections to the victim. 3 women who are, for different reasons, simmering with resentment. Who are, whether they know it or not, burning to right the wrongs done to them. When it comes to revenge, even good people might be capable of terrible deeds. How far might any one of them go to find peace? How long can the secrets smolder before they explode into flame? So this sounds like a gripping, twisty, whodunit type tale, and even though I haven't read a ton of these, I know they are super popular, so I feel like I know a few people in particular who are really going to be interested in this one. If you are really interested in this one, A Slow Burning Fire will be available on August 31st. Number 9 is going to be The Riviera House, another historical fiction, which, as if you can't tell, it seems to be a lot of historical fiction picks for this month for some reason. So again, this is another World War II one, and it starts in Paris in 1939. So the Nazis think that Elaine can't understand German. They're wrong. They think she's merely cataloging art in the Louvre and unaware that they're stealing national treasures for their private collections. They have no idea that she's carefully decoding their notes and smuggling information to the resistance. But Elaine is playing a dangerous game. Does she dare trust the man she once loved with her secrets? Or will he only betray her once again? She has no way to know for certain until a trip to a stunning home on the French Riviera brings a whole new level of peril. And then it switches to present day. Wanting to forget the tragedy that has left her life in shambles, Remy Lang heads to a home she's mysteriously inherited on the Riviera. While working on her vintage fashion business, she discovers a catalog of artworks stolen during World War II and is shocked to see a painting that hung on her childhood bedroom wall. Who is her family really? And does the Riviera House hold more secrets than Remy is ready to face? So again, this seems like a part past, part present type book. Sometimes I like those tales. Sometimes one side seems to be better than the other. So I don't know how this one's going to go, but I thought the whole premise of it sounded really interesting. And the whole story about the artwork and, you know, the Germans stealing artwork during World War II has always been something that really interested me. So that is why I put this book on my list. So if you are interested in a new historical World War II fiction, The Riviera House will be available on August 31st. And finally, that brings me to number 10, one of the ones that I am most personally excited about, and that's going to be Poisoned for Breakfast by Lemony Snicket. That's right, a new standalone adventure appropriate for all ages by Lemony Snicket, who did the popular A Series of Unfortunate Events. And yes, I know that the author's name is not technically Lemony Snicket, but that's how they're listing it online, which I love. I've always loved the whole Lemony Snicket thing, so that's how I'm referring to it. So this one says, in the years since this publishing house was founded, we have worked with an array of wondrous authors who have brought illuminating clarity to our bewildering world. Now, instead, we bring you Lemony Snicket. Over the course of his long and suspicious career, Mr. Snicket has investigated many things, including villainy, treachery, conspiracy, and various suspicious fires. In this book, he is investigating his own death. Poison for Breakfast is a different sort of book than others we have published, and from others you may have read. It is different from the other books Mr. Snicket has written. It is said to be a book of philosophy, something almost no one likes, but it is also a mystery, and many people claim to like those. Certainly, Mr. Snicket doesn't relish the dreadful task of solving it, but he had no choice. It was put in front of him, right there on his plate. His own death. I don't know about you, but just reading that, if you couldn't heard, makes me giggle. Like, the Lemony Snicket books, the series of unfortunate events, and all of the sub-material that has come out afterwards have always made me laugh, have always made me smile. I just love the whole alter ego of Lemony Snicket, and so this sounds absolutely brilliant and amazing, and I can't wait for it to come out. If you can't wait for it to come out, Poison for Breakfast will be available on August 31st. Those are my top 10 picks for August 2021. Again, it was another hard month, so if there is a book that you are looking forward to that I didn't mention, please let me know about it in the comments section below. As always, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're not already, please subscribe to my channel. I do new videos Sunday, Wednesday, sometimes on Friday, although we're going to see how that goes with my new job. I'm working on a schedule here, a rhythm. We'll see how that goes. All right, have a great day.